On today's coffee break, we're going to talk about how we use our American Express Gold Card coupon credits. The American Express loves to offer perks that give you rebates for very specific things. And so we jokingly refer to these as coupons. And not that long ago, the Gold Card, the annual fee went up a bit, but they added more coupons to offset that annual fee. And I was kind of mad at the time because it was like, I don't want more coupons to deal with, but here I am. I don't know, 6 months, a year later. I don't know how long it's been. I still have the Gold Card. Haven't canceled it, and so I thought it would be cool to talk about how I and Nick use our Gold Card coupons, and maybe in the discussion we'll figure out, was it actually worth it?
Sounds good. Well, let's start out by just kind of taking the lay of the land here, laying out the key details. So the Gold Card has a $325 annual fee. That puts it high mid-tier in terms of annual fees. Category bonuses on this card are 3x on flights booked with airlines or booked with Amex Travel, 4x at U.S. supermarkets on up to $25,000 in purchases per year, then 1x and 4x at dining restaurants worldwide, up to $50,000 per year now on the restaurant category bonus, then 1x. All right, so those are the category bonuses. So let's talk about how we use them. Do you use the Amex Gold Card at restaurants or for flights or for your groceries?
I use it exclusively for groceries. I have my City Prestige card that earns 5x at restaurants, so that does better there. And I have, as far as earning 3x for airlines, I'd rather use, for example, my Sapphire Reserve card to get 3x Chase Ultimate Rewards points and also better travel protections with that card. How about you?
Yeah. Primarily, I want better travel protections. So, truth be told, I had forgotten this card even had that 3x bonus category because I've just never even really seriously considered using one of my Amex cards for flights. I prefer to use Chase cards for better travel protections in general for flights. It is also our primary grocery card, so primary supermarket card. I have mixed in a little bit of Capital One Saver lately, but that card only earns 3 points per dollar, and this one earns 4. So, for as long as we have it, this is our primary supermarket spend card and my primary dining card. It finally made its way back into my wallet. Like I said, I had been using the Saver a bit for those types of purchases, but 4x is nice, and I think the math works out for us to keep this card. So since it does, it makes sense to earn 4x in both of those categories. I do not have the City Prestige card that Greg mentioned, so I'm using my Gold Card for 4x because that's, I think, the best return you can get on dining otherwise.
Okay, yeah. Unless you have the no longer available City Prestige card, then you could do better. All right, so that's how we use the built-in category bonuses. But now let's talk about the coupons. The card has several rebates that you can get. We'll see how we each use the credits that are available.
Yep. All right. So let's start out with the Resy credit. So the Gold Card has a credit for up to $50 in purchases at Resy restaurants twice annually. It's a semi-annual benefit, so up to $100 total per year. So January to June, you can use it at a Resy restaurant for a $50 statement credit, and then July to December, you can do so again. You don't need to make your reservations through Resy. Resy is a restaurant reservation platform primarily, but you don't actually need to make a reservation to use this. You could just walk into any restaurant that's on the Resy reservation platform and use it, spend $50, and you'll get your $50 statement credit. So how do you use it?
Yeah, so for me, what I don't have like a set specific way I use it. What I've done in the past is sometimes I've gone in person to a nearby restaurant that's on Resy and bought a gift card to that restaurant. And because you're paying right at the restaurant, it shows up as that restaurant, and then Amex gives you the credit for that. The other thing I've done is just pay attention when I'm dining out. Am I going to a restaurant that's on the Resy platform? For me, there's not very many desirable restaurants in the Ann Arbor area where I live. So it's usually when I'm traveling, I try to pay attention to that. And that's a little tough because I don't, while my wife travels with the Gold Card, it's actually in her name. I don't travel with it. And so, if I happen to be at a restaurant where I could do tap to pay, then I could pull it up on my phone. But, where you have to leave the card for them to take away, I'll often not think ahead. So I have not been great about making sure I do this every 6 months.
Okay, we've done a little bit better, surprisingly, on using it every 6 months. So we've used it a couple times, exactly the way that Greg mentioned with the gift card approach. There happens to be a restaurant about 30 miles away where my wife and a friend of hers like to go out to lunch about once every 6 months, and so we've bought a gift card, just when passing that restaurant by a couple of times already that she's then used to go out to lunch. So that's one way we've used it. And we have also used it to stack. Recently, we made a trip to New York City, and I wanted to use in-kind credits because there's been lots of deals on buying gift cards for in-kind from Costco. They just recently had a $100 gift card for $60 from Costco for in-kind. In-kind is a payment platform you can use at some restaurants. You can use it to check out. So if you're, you eat your dinner and then you get your bill, then you can pay the bill with the in-kind app and walk out without having to give anybody your card or wait for anything. So I recently tested this by using credits that I had in the in-kind app to pay for my meal. I had a bunch of referral credits. So referral credits covered the meal, but I used the Amex Gold Card to pay the tip for the meal because the tip has to be paid with a credit card. Even if you got enough in in-kind gift cards or referral credits or whatever to cover the cost of your meal, the tip has to go on a credit card still. So I put the tip on the credit card, and sure enough, that did trigger the gold card credit because that restaurant was on the Resy platform. So I had to find a restaurant that was on both, and I didn't actually set out with that intention. It just so happened that we picked a restaurant from In Kind and discovered that it was on the Resy platform. So it wasn't something I set out to do that way, but it worked. Now I want to mention I did an order for pickup and an order for delivery from the same restaurant, and the pickup order, the tip on that triggered the credit. The delivery order, the tip on that one did not trigger the credit. So it's a little variable. We had different reports from different readers in terms of whether or not that strategy worked. But I mention it because it's worth knowing, especially if you've been one of the many people to pick up these in-kind gift cards, that you might try this if you're dining at a restaurant that is on both platforms. So that's another way we've used it. But yep, those are the two, I guess.
So I just want to make an observation that this is probably the easiest no-brainer of the coupons that come with this card for most people. Yet both of us had made it way more complicated than it needs to be, right? Because in my case, if I just use the gold card as my dining card in general, I would probably just trip this every 6 months, like automatically, because even though there aren't many restaurants in Ann Arbor, I travel enough that I go to ones that are on the platform, and because I default to a different card, that's why it doesn't just happen magically. And in your case, you're trying to stack extra things on top.
Well, yeah, I was trying to stack for the in-kind thing. I thought that was worth a mention for people stacking. But like I said, we bought gift cards at a restaurant nearby. And also, when we were traveling over the holidays, we bought a gift card at a restaurant closer to a different family member as a gift. So, certainly there's enough ways, like you said, if you travel a bunch, enough ways to do that. But yeah, so that's you said the easiest of the various credits. But we pretty easily get, close to our $100 and face value, at least in my household, over the course of the year. Close. Obviously, you can't quite figure it at 100, but somewhere in the range.
Yeah,
of 80,
yeah.
90,
And if I just gave it just a modicum more thought, it would be easy to get that 100 a year. And I'm not sure that I've done it every 6 months. But anyway,
very good. All right, what's up next then?
All right, next up is $10 per month of Uber credit, and that credit can be used towards Uber rides or Uber Eats. A new change in it is that you have to set up your Amex card as the backup card to pay in case you don't have enough credits for whatever you're paying for, which kind of unfortunate because it used to be like you could set up a card that earns better rewards for rideshare as your payment card on top of this, but that's no longer the case. Anyway, how do you use your Uber credits, Nick?
So my wife and I, between the two of us, have a bunch of different cards with Uber credits. So we each have a gold card. We've got a couple of platinum cards. And so what we've done is we share one Uber Eats account on both of our phones, and we've added all of the credit cards that have Uber credits to the same Uber Eats account. And that way they're all stacked together. So you can use them all together on a single meal still. And so we just make it a point once a month to make sure we use Uber Eats. If we get to like the last week of the month and we haven't used it, then we make plans to make sure we do a pickup order somewhere or a delivery order somewhere. But we usually travel enough that naturally, at least once a month and sometimes more, we have a need where we're like, oh, well, we need delivery. And so Uber Eats will be our primary go-to for that for delivery. Now, it's worth noting for me, I can't use this at home. A lot of people can use it for delivery to their house, but there is no
Yeah.
Uber Eats where I live. So we do need to be somewhat intentional about it, but we're going to eat out anyway, at least once a month in another place that's larger than the town we live in. So it's usually easy enough for us to use this. We've cut it a little close a couple of times, and I at least once or twice have ordered as a gift for somebody else. I've ordered for delivery to somebody else's house once or twice before, just to use it up before it
Yeah.
expires. But for the
Yeah.
most part, we're usually able to use this easily enough.
Right. Cool. Yeah. And for me, we do have Uber Eats in Ann Arbor. And so we order in not that often, but enough that it's so easy to use up the credits that way. And I do ride Uber a fair amount. And so, my problem, even with combining all of the cards that have Uber credits onto one account, my problem is not having enough Uber credits to cover all the needs I have. Not, I don't have any problem using it every month. That's always been, except actually sometimes in December because the platinum cards. This isn't true with the gold card, but the platinum cards offer extra credits in December, and so you got to be more intentional then, or at least I do. One kind of neat thing with Uber is if you had like a ride at the end of like last month and now you get your credit, you could actually go back in time and change how you paid for that ride. I assume that works with Uber Eats as well. I haven't looked into that, but
I'm not
I
sure.
know it works with Uber rides. So that's another way you could use your credits is for stuff that happened recently in the past.
There you go. Great tip there. All right. There's also these dining partner coupons. So you get $10 a month that you can use at one of the following. So $10 statement credit for purchases at one of the following: Goldbelly, Wine.com, Five Guys, Seamless or Grubhub, and the Cheesecake Factory. How do you use that one?
So I use this every single month, like clockwork. What I do is I get onto goldbelly.com and I order myself a $10 gift card from Goldbelly. And I keep them all in a special folder in my inbox so that like maybe once a year, it doesn't really matter how often, but let's say I'm getting someone a present. I'll check out Goldbelly if they have something that looks good. I have it delivered, and Goldbelly lets me, or at least has in the past, let me stack as many of these $10 gift cards as I wanted to one order.
Yeah. Yeah. So we started doing the same. My wife has a notebook, and the first of every month, she has like a checklist of credits to use up. And so there's a bunch of different cards to use. And so this is one of the ones she does. And we also have been using Goldbelly. We do eat at Five Guys almost once a month because that's one of the few places both of my kids will eat something. But because they have a grilled cheese sandwich there, believe it or not. I have one kid who doesn't eat any meat, and they have a grilled cheese sandwich, and he'll eat that. So.
Yeah. Yeah, great.
Yeah, so that helps. Anyway, but we just to make sure that we use it first of every month, she goes through and buys the Goldbelly gift card. We've got a bunch of extended family members where the holiday gift, the standard holiday gift for years and years, has been some sort of a food item. They always send us something, we always send them something, and so that was perfect. This year, we sent a bunch of extended family members Goldbelly gifts because it was stuff we would have bought them anyway. We might have bought it through a different platform or something, but it was stuff we were going to buy anyway. So it worked out really well.
Yeah, nice. All right. Last and least, we have a $7 monthly Dunkin credit. Do you use that?
Same thing. This is in my wife's notebook that she does at the beginning of every month. She's taking that on and loves that, and I love that she loves it because now I don't have to dedicate any brain space to it. So yeah, you can load your Dunkin' account with $7 at a time each month, and that triggers the credit. So you just go into the app and you load it right in the Dunkin' app. And again, we share the same Dunkin' app on both of our phones. That way, it's all in one place. We don't need separate Dunkin' accounts. So we just share a Dunkin' account and continue adding the credit to it. Now, I think I heard that they're limiting you to up to $100 in credit in there, and then maybe you need to. I'm not sure what you need to do after that. We haven't hit that point yet, so we've been able to use it periodically that way. But we're able to stack it up, and then you don't have to use it that month. So I think we've got 80 or 90 something dollars in there right now. So maybe I've got to use it before next month. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, and I just started just this month actually doing the app thing. I haven't eaten in Dunkin'. I haven't bought anything from Dunkin' in a long time. So it didn't really interest me. But at the same time, I know that you can also use this credit at Baskin Robbins, and I occasionally come across one of those. And I'm just like thinking, well, why not? Well, it's free and easy to load up the credit, so why not do that? So that's added to my monthly, get credits type of thing. So, all right, it sounds like for the most part, except for when like I forget to use my Resy credit, but for the most part, we're using up all of our credits. That's a total of $424 in credits a year if we use everyone every month. So does that mean that this card is worth $424 back, in exchange for the $325 annual fee?
Well, no, of course not. It's not. I wouldn't necessarily spend $50 twice a year at a Resy restaurant. I mean, actually, in our case, I think we probably would, but at least it requires brain space to make sure that we space that out, if whether buying a gift card or making plans to go to a Resy type of a restaurant. And, the same thing goes with everything else. Would I order from Uber Eats versus using DoorDash or Grubhub or something else? I don't know. My habit is Uber Eats, but my habit is probably Uber Eats because of these credits. So
also the credits, yeah.
Yeah. So I don't,
what they want.
Yeah. And that is what they want. And, cheers to them. They won. So no, I don't value it at $424, but I find it relatively easy to justify the $325 anyway, in order to still get the 4X at supermarkets and at restaurants. Then, with the $424 in credits, even if I only value that at like 75% of face value, we're still over $300 anyway back in credits, which makes it a pretty cheap card to carry for 4X dining and grocery spend. I mean, if I were willing to pay $100 for a card like that, then between that and these credits, it works out pretty well.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm still on the fence as to whether it actually makes sense for us to keep the card because of how much we value these credits, which is like Dunkin', I value it not at all. And then the others, it varies how much I value them. But it's nice to know that at least, I'm not my total cost of having the card isn't the full $325 annual fee. It's something substantially less than that because I do value some of those credits quite a bit.
Yeah, yeah, and it's a great point. We don't eat Dunkin' very often or drink Dunkin' coffee very often either. But now and then, it's the only option. You need a coffee, and that's what's there because obviously it's different depending on where you live. But so these are the types of things where I say, I wouldn't spend $7 at Dunkin' every month, but I'm going to spend some money at Dunkin' at some point eventually. So if I can load that up in the app, great. It's going to save me the money that day. It's someday in the future, so I shouldn't value it at a full $7, but it'll save me something nonetheless.
Yeah. And, maybe if you need to get yourself in good with some policemen, you can buy them some Dunkin'.
You heard it here first, folks. All right. Don't forget, if you've enjoyed this and you'd like to get on our email list, you want to go to frequentmiler.com/subscribe to join our email list, follow us on all the various social media, and check out our Frequent Miler on the Air episodes dropping every Friday.